which brings me
Right.
to what we were talking about before the stream. Is there's one that we talked about a few weeks ago that I'm very interested in, that I think is going to sell easily 10 million when they do their Kickstarter later next year, and that is the Stormlight Archive RPG. Because, oh boy, does that have a built in audience that's way outside of just RPGs. Not only does he have, Brandon Sanderson, amazing books, he's built an amazing universe with fantastic magic. I mean, he's known as creating some of the best magic systems ever, characters, everything. And I'm like, I am buying that. Even if I never played, I'm buying and reading it. I cannot wait. But I hear you might know a little bit more about it than even I do. If you're allowed
Uh,
to talk about it.
yeah. I mean, I never got signed on NDA. Yeah.
Okay.
So, basically, I guess what I'm really willing to so they announced the designers. One of the guys that was on my channel a lot, Ross Leiser, is one of the designers on the Stormlight Archive RPG. I interviewed for a position for the graphic design thing. Didn't wind up getting it because Gordon McAlpin got it, but Gordon's like one of the best in the industry. He does like Beetle and Grimm's stuff and a lot of stuff for MCDM and yada yada yada. But so this is there is going to be a Stormlight Archive RPG. Whenever I tell you straight up, I know some of the content that's going into here. This is going to be a multi-million-dollar Kickstarter. This is most likely going to be the biggest TTRPG Kickstarter of all time. I don't know how else to put it. There is no other way. There is no way in the world that this thing makes under $5 million. Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter was the biggest Kickstarter of all time. And the thing that I know about this, it's interesting. Okay. There is definitely an element of these books that I don't know that they've formally put out in public, so I don't want to say that. But I will definitely say that there is going to be a reason why Brandon Sanderson's fans will wind up buying this thing, even if they never play the game. It's going to be huge. Brotherwise Games puts out incredible material. They've got massive distribution. They're in Barnes and Noble. I think they're even in Target, if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a proven track record of over a decade. 5 million minimum. Yes, I actually think it's going to
I
be.
think it's going to, I mean, I guarantee it's going to do 10 million minimum, bare minimum. Easy 10 million.
Yeah, I don't care how the economy is looking at the time. It's going to get that money. It's going to happen. This is, you don't understand the huge hype. Then I would recommend, if you want to, if you're even at all slightly interested, if you're not interested, then whatever. But if you are slightly interested, I recommend starting out with the Mistborn series and then going and checking out Stormlight Archive, because
the Way of Kings is my favorite book of all time. I've read it 3 times. I love that book. I mean, I've read everything he's written. I even read his little novellas for that video game. I forgot what it was called, but his writing isn't perfect. He does have some issues, but there's something about his writing that's magical. It's hard to explain. It's just, there's something. And his world building is Tolkien-esque. Like, he has amazing world building.
Yeah, he is the Tolkien of our time.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
He is consistently rated as the best fantasy author of all time over on r/fantasy, like the subreddit. People are like really protective of Tolkien and everything, but even the readers over there are like, yeah, no, this is our thing, and yeah, this guy is the best of all, greatest of all time.
The other thing is, he keeps the plots moving. Like, he keeps things moving fast, which is really, I think, helps with this world's view of fantasy, because a lot of fantasy is very slow, and it was written, the older fantasy is slow and methodical. He is kind of a writer of our times, where people really want things to happen fast. He moves things along quickly, and he wraps things up, but there's always something else. Like, he really keeps it going, and I was like, man, his stuff is so freaking good. Mistborn is really good, but I'd say Stormlight Archive is superior in every way. That's also his baby. That's the one he's been writing for his entire life. The only thing is it is 30 books.
Yeah, I think Mistborn is slightly more accessible because it's
way
like
more accessible.
It's a smaller chunk to bite off on.
And the first book is excellent. Excellent book. Really good, really easy to get into. It gets a little weird by the second and third. Third one's really weird, but it's the first book also has the killer ending because it's the ending is so good. Without spoiling it, it's really good. And the magic system is incredible in Mistborn.
Allomancy is one of the coolest magic systems of all time.
I know. You swallow metal and then use the metal to cast magic. Oh, brilliant. It's like brilliant.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good. Anyhow,
the Witcher guy.
It's going to make $10 million. Okay, I guarantee it.
Easy. Yeah.
The thing is, because what it is Kickstarter, it made like 43 million, I think it was. And here's the thing. They're going to have tiers because they had a tier on the Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter that was $500. And it was like one of the most popular tiers. I guarantee you they're going to be smart. They're going to do that. They're going to have tiers. Yeah, this is going to be like your standard TTRPG Kickstarter where you have like, here's the $30 tier, here's the $60 tier, here's the $100 tier. No, they're going to have the $100, $200, $500, $1,000 tier. Like they're going to have big tiers and you're going to get a lot of stuff.
So I'm going to put my prediction in that it's between 5 and 10. I don't think it will hit 10 because the 43 million had a lot of books and boxes of swag because he had 4 secret books.
You're
and this is
one
book.
Who I bought. I got it. I have it all. I'm not. This
is one book that is also an RPG and is not part of his main line. So I'm going to predict under 10 over 5. That's
he's gonna have minis, and I guarantee it's not one book.
So here's what I know. It has well, I say not everything I know. Here's at least what I do know that I feel comfortable sharing. Yes, there are minis for it. I believe it's 2 books.
Oh, okay.
And to what Ian James just said in there, big expensive book largely written by not him. No, Brandon Sanderson actually contributed. My understanding is a large amount of original writing to this material, original writing that expands on the entire Cosmere. So there's some material that's going to be in this thing that there's going to be a reason why this thing breaks over that threshold. And I'm seeing a lot of people kind of knocking it in chat. And I'm just saying like, this is going to do well. Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
If it's 2 books,
it's going to do well.
Then I could see it.
And minis. And I guarantee they're going to put extra things in there. They're going to put in like bookmarks.
Of course, there's extra things. I'm assuming there's extra things. The 45 also had extra things.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's right. Because I get a thing every month of my stickers and my pins. And I got
the year of Sanderson.
Look, I got my little ship. And look, I got my Nightblood sword. I can kill you with it. There. Look at that thing. It's awesome.
Is it talking to you in your head?
Yes. It's telling me to kill Mark. Sorry.
Oh, now we know why Steven does these things.
The point is, they're gonna make sure this does well.
And you can play Nightblood on Friday.
Oh, really?
Oh. Yeah.
So
because of the Intelligent Weapons book that's coming out.
Oh, duh. Of course. I was like, what are you talking about?
Did you see the sample names?
No. Was Nightblood one of them?
Maybe you should check the sample.
Maybe
names.
I should read my own product. Whoops. Yes, you can play an intelligent weapon. How about that, instructor boy?
Hey.
We're so insane here that you can play a weapon. And let me tell you, it was hard to write. I didn't even write it. I know it was hard to write because it was hard to edit.
It was.
That's even a challenge for Mark. The point is that next year is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of coming out next year. A lot. And Stormlight is, Stormlight's going to surprise everyone. Speaking of that.
I was going to say, I think next year is going to be a crazy awesome year for a lot of stuff coming out.
Oh, yeah. Next year's going to be nuts.
I think the biggest problem to like WotC at the moment right now is going to be just how much variety we're going to see. Like we don't need to find a single D&D killer. It's that there's going to be tons of options, and people have mostly just kind of felt like there was only one.
So we didn't even get into Daggerheart at all when we were talking about these other options. So there's a lot, and the common industry wisdom is to dismissively call games like, maybe not Stormlight, because that's a kind of a different thing, but games like Daggerheart or MCDM, they're called heartbreakers, which is a kind of derisive name, fantasy heartbreakers, for something that seems like it's the big next thing that's in that exact niche of D&D and then never does what you want it to do, so that it always breaks your heart. And that's why the industry wisdom is called them heartbreakers. But I think even though in the past they've always been heartbreakers, that with the popularity of some of these studios and the Kickstarter model, and for example, Magpie Avatar, The Last Airbender RPG, I think there is reason to suspect that their hearts will not be broken this time. At least one of those will actually be a pretty big success, and probably all of the ones we've been talking about.
I think the problem with the Heartbreaker is, it's used really dismissively, but like it also ignores the fact that like the Heartbreaker is something that is like typically something introduced that is not really innovative on like the pre-existing foothold that's there. So like they tend to be like small tweaks to D&D rule sets rather than like a different way to play a similar theme of game. Like it's not too often, like I would never call D&D I would never call Pathfinder like a D&D heartbreaker, because it deviated so far away from a lot of what was like being previously established, but it happened to be of the similar genre, but so I think it's like a bit it's dismissive, and I think it's also kind of a misnomer to say that the Heartbreaker is any fantasy dungeon crawler that uses MG20.
So I had heard the term being used, but Ryan Dancy in one of the streams with us defined why it was originally termed, and it's just because people who wanted to invest or wanted to make something and wanted to earn money were always pinning their hopes on it. It had their hearts broken. It was always a new game, whether it was derivative of Dungeons and Dragons or not, that was very D&D. It was going for that same combat heavy, very similar style and even subgenre of fantasy, and like being big rules, having a rule for everything, very encyclopedic.
Right.
So covering that exact niche and then underperforming is where that term came from. And I think that we're going to see 2024 is the year of the not heartbreakers, and they're not going to break hearts because they're going to break people's piggy banks instead.
I completely agree. I mean, there's too much coming out next year by top people, top men and women, and there's going to be something that hits, and it doesn't have to hit with everyone, but it will chip away at WotC, because it's like, you don't need one of these to succeed, but you got MCDM, you have Tales from the Valiant, you have Stormlight, you have Shadow Dark, you have Knave, you got Instructaboys,
Vagabond.
Vagabond, sorry.
Vagabond, yeah, you've got Daggerheart.
Yeah, Daggerheart's coming out. I mean,
someone in chat just mentioned Dungeon Coach is making something, like everybody's doing it.
Right. Dungeon Coach has been, like, a lot of people are very excited. Actually, he was He was playtesting that at Gen Con, and a lot of people have been very excited about that. I mean, that's a lot. And they're all going after similar audiences, and this is exactly what WotC did not want when they tried to pull their OGL shenanigans. And boy, not only did they get the opposite, but it's going to be probably much worse than ever, because I guarantee everyone's now rushing to get their stuff out because they see a chink in the armor, which is D&D 2024, and people are going to be out looking to change systems and buy something new Oh, I forgot another one. Little thing called Pathfinder Remastered, which also just came out. Like,
Yeah, but that's 2023.
That's
so I guess it's
2023.
a slightly different time than the
yes,
others.
but it still counts, I think. But the point is, there's so much coming out that there's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of expectation and convenience if you wanted to switch systems.